Okay, we are rolling with the second episode straight off the back of the first episode, which honestly I felt like I rushed to wrap up. I don't know if those of you listening felt like that, but I rushed to wrap up because I could feel myself getting emotional, and I was visibly shaking. So if you watched it on YouTube, I'm still not used to looking at the camera, by the way, so I'm looking everywhere bar the camera. But if you watched it, you will definitely see that I looked very uncomfortable, which is not like me. If this is the mad thing, okay, if you are inside my community, you will know I speak to camera all of the time and deliver information to my clients, and I'm so comfortable doing that. Hence, it felt like a podcast was a good idea because I'm so comfortable just talking about health and well-being and all of those things. I suppose talking about myself and my own story, and you know what it was as well? We wrapped up the episode and I was like, oh, I didn't even mention this and I didn't speak about that. And I will touch on it quickly, like how I actually got into the gym, because again, this will be so relatable. But I had that first boy that I told you about that I met, and then my whole career to be a physio just didn't happen. He cheated on me. And so I just started going to the gym, as I don't even know why. I mean, just to give a bit of context on that, I put up with all of the crap that comes with I'm sorry and blah, blah, blah. And anyway, I built so much character post that relationship, because I stayed in that relationship and I was very young, but again, we look back, don't we, at these really pivotal moments in our lives, and you realise, okay, that's when character was built. That's when I built resilience, and I definitely realised I was worth more and all of these other things. But also for me, that was when I actually got into the gym and started going to classes. And then, you get to a point where there's not a class on, but you still want to go to the gym. So you've got to figure out how to do your own thing. And it just built from there, just a hobby and a passion, really. And I've just, the realisation of how it made me feel, and I genuinely think my mental strength was built in that. And so being able to put that together, okay, exercise boosts my mental well-being, was just bingo. And I'm really lucky because I learned that really early on, and some women are only just figuring it out now because for whatever reason we don't make time to exercise. It's always something that we've felt self-conscious about, whatever it might be. So I know I feel like that's, it is a privilege, and I feel like I'm lucky to have developed that so early on. But again, I'm a mum. I think a lot of you listening to this will also have kids. We don't want our kids to wait until they get to their mid-30s or whatever it might be to realise that, okay, if I take care of myself, I also build my self-esteem and my mental resilience and my mental health in the process. We want them to know that from the get-go, and the only way that they are going to be able to take that on is if we show them, because they're not listening to us. They're definitely not listening to us most of the time, but they are watching what we do. So if we're taking care of ourselves, we're exercising, we're going to the gym, we're practicing the self-talk, whatever else it is that comes as a part of taking care of ourselves, we will by default pass that on to our kids. We will. Either way, we're not looking after ourselves, we will also pass that on. So I've written this down. I always have notes for any talking feature or whatever that I'm going to do, because I go so off on a tangent all of the time, because I like to give context anyway. But I've got no notes for this, but I did write one thing down, and that is that when I think about the discomfort of doing a podcast, for me, do you know what the mad thing is? I go to bed most nights feeling like, oh, I could be doing so much more. And it comes down to me wanting to be more for my kids. It's not even for myself. It is obviously in so many ways, but it's also I want my girls to grow up and think, I want to be someone worth modelling, and again, when it comes to losing weight or having more discipline around alcohol or whatever it is that your struggle is, I know you're going to bed overnight and you're feeling like you could be so much more. And how many times do we go to bed and we think tomorrow's the day? Tomorrow is the day. I'm going to film the podcast. I'm going to send the message. I'm going to eat clean. I'm going to not, whatever it is. Okay, I'm going to go to the gym. And then we just don't, because life autopilot just kicks in, takes over, and we do the same thing on repeat. And like a couple of the episodes that I've already got planned out are going to be built around the shift in identity that we have to take on if we're going to change. Like we can't live in our old identity and like physically transform. I've written down here, like there's 3 pillars really. There's 5, but there's 3 main pillars to transformation. And it's, you know, from a health perspective, yes, it is your nutrition, yes, it is exercise, but it's also mindset. And like the mindset is the self-talk, it's the narrative, it's recognizing that, like, okay, so I'm thinking this way about myself, I'm identifying as this person who, I don't know, you know, someone said in the gym changing rooms a couple of weeks ago, and it really stuck with me. I overheard a conversation and a woman said, oh, I'm terrible, if I have a glass of wine I have to have the whole bottle. And in my head, maybe in me, I'm thinking, well, that's just a label that you're putting on yourself. You know, you don't have to drink the whole bottle of wine, obviously, but that's who she identifies as. She identifies as the woman who has no discipline around alcohol. But we've got to be willing to shed that old identity, and it takes a lot of work. When you are struggling with the motivation or, you know, the discipline, or it comes down to what is the mindset. And that takes a lot of work, and it takes more work now than ever. Like, I know some of us probably think 10, 20 years ago, well, this wasn't a thing. We didn't have to listen to mindset, but life has changed. Like, we've just got to accept it. And we're so governed by social media and, like, for example, protein is now a new thing. So everything in the shops is labelled as being high protein. Like, we have to have our own mind. We have to know and be able to take charge. And it takes work. It takes a lot of work. I still struggle with mindset all of the time. And so I proactively I'll give you a tip on what I do. If I feel like I'm struggling, or even if I'm not, I will just listen to something that will just change the conversation in my head. So, you know, we have that conversation going on of why we can't do something, or, you know, we're replaying an old scenario, or whatever it might be. We all beat ourselves up for different things. I will just listen to something around self-development or a podcast, something that will just take over the train of thought and give me it's the next best thing, as opposed to actually having a conversation with someone about how you're feeling. So yeah, I'm not going to even get too deep into that, because I feel as though that's an entire podcast in itself. The exercise, like, as a pillar of health and transformation, it's got to become a part of your lifestyle. It's not just, I'm going to exercise for the next 6 weeks to lose weight and then I can just go back to normal life. That's not transformation. That's a quick fix. So again, the importance of finding something that you can do sustainably, you know, and it might change over the course of time, but finding something that either fits or making a way to make it fit, because it's got to be a part of your life. Like, if we're going to age well and we're going to age, you know, we're not going to be relying on, you know, medical care and everything else, and we want to be able to take care of ourselves, we've got to exercise, point blank. I know that, like, lifestyle makes it really hard now for us to fit it in, but we're designed to move. We're also, you know, at a stage now, and again, I'm probably going off on a tangent, but here we are, where we've got to take responsibility and ownership for our nutrition. Like, we've just got to. You can walk around with blinkers on. And I had a really, like, penny drop moment from a client yesterday, and she's in such good shape, but she holds herself to really high standards. So she's still working with a coach because she just sees the value in that, which I massively respect. And even her, even this client who's in such, honestly, she's got 4 kids, she competes, high rock, she does all of these other things, she's in amazing shape. And she said to me yesterday, it's only just dawned on me that the nutritional value of food is not based on how many calories are in it. Like, she's just being switched on now to, like inflammatory oils and all of these different things, okay, because she's got 4 kids. So she's super keen to make sure that they are eating well, and, you know, the food that she brings into the house is, you know, going to have them at their best. And she was like, Nick, I've just realised that, like, it's not based on the kind. We just had a whole check-in conversation about the best things that she can pick up at the supermarket. And it's like, it's conversations like that. Like, we've got to, she could happily just go, do you know what? I feel good. I'm fit, I'm healthy, I've got 4 kids, and kids are all happy. Do you know what? I'm just going to carry on plodding along because that just makes life easy. She doesn't want that. She's like, no, I actually want to be enlightened. I don't want to go, you know, I don't want to continue on and then get to the point where I realise that, like, I could have made changes, but I was happy being ignorant. And so the nutrition side of things, and again, this is why the podcast is so important to me, is we have to talk about how to optimise our health, our energy levels, our hormone regulation, you know, everything that really matters to us that we're probably not talking about. We're just cracking on as normal, and then every now and then we'll slash our calories, and like we just continue on that cycle. When you truly learn how to eat well, and eating well is not eating clean 100% of the time. There's actually no such thing as eating clean, but it's not. We've got to have flexibility. We've got to be able to have a slice of pizza and a glass of fizz, and like that also be a part of the diet. But it's understanding how to moderate that. But when you realise how to eat well, and the power of good nutrition, and the impact that that can have on how you feel, and how your body eventually will, you know, transform, it's penny drop. It is genuinely, like, it's game changing. It'll change your life, and again, it'll impact those around you, whether it's your partner, whether it's your kids. So yeah, those are the things that I want to talk about on this podcast, and everything else in between. So I think episode 2 has just been wrapped up, and I don't know if there was any real context or takeaways on that, ladies. The only thing that I can guarantee is that there'll be more of this, so please stay tuned. I appreciate you listening. I needed to get that second one done. I need to get over these nerves, guys. So I will catch you all on the next podcast. And yeah, thanks again.